everything that I say in this video, it's all alleged. Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Janae, if you didn't know, and today's video is another true crime episode. So if you're ready, let's go. Alright y'all, so today we pretty much just jumping right into the video because I don't feel like I have nothing to say before I start the case. Yeah, no, aside from the fact that these eyelashes is kind of heavy, I don't have nothing else to say. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. Now y'all know I usually don't cover cases that have not gone to trial, where somebody has either been acquitted or like there's some type of conclusion to the case. Like I like to wait until everything has been completed. But y'all, the facts that have already come out about this case, and it literally just broke like last week, they really got me in a chokehold, and so I wanted to talk about it.
So my husband passed away unexpectedly last year. So it's March 4th was a 1-year anniversary for us, and he was 39. It completely took us all by shock. My kids and I kind of wrote this book on the different emotions and grieving processes that we've experienced last year.
So today's case has pretty much been in the media for the past week now, and the clip that I just played y'all is a clip of Kouri Richins, a 33-year-old mother of 3 who was on a local news station in Utah promoting her children's book called Are You With Me? And it was written by her and co-written with her 3 boys. And it pretty much talks about dealing with grief and going through the grieving process, because a year ago on March 4th, 2022, her husband of 9 years, Kouri Richins, died unexpectedly. And so she said she wrote the book to help her kids work through and understand their grief and potentially help other families in the process. Now, that sounds so sweet and so heartfelt and just like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. You go, girl. But the problem with her writing this book is that she is allegedly the one who caused her children this grief. Just 3 weeks after appearing on Good Things Utah, Kouri was arrested and charged with the murder of her husband, Kouri Richins. Eric was born on May 13th, 1982 to his parents, Jean and Linda Richins. He was the oldest of 3. He had 2 younger sisters, Katie and Amy. And it said that Eric was a very attentive brother to his 2 younger sisters. Now, growing up, Eric's family lived on a ranch, and so he was no stranger to hard work, because he would have to get out there and help his dad, like, tend to the horses, the cows, move hay around, and, you know, feed the animals, and whatever else that people do who own a ranch, he was helping do it. And even though Eric was very hands-on with the ranch, he still found time to do things that he enjoyed outside of ranch work. Like, Eric was very into sports. It said that he participated in soccer, basketball, baseball, and cross country. And eventually, when he grew up and had kids of his own, he was always either coach or assistant coach in his children's sporting activities. So sports remained a big part of Eric's life throughout his entire life. And it's also said that Eric was an avid outdoorsman. He was a great hunter, and he also liked to do any type of how you call it, 4-wheeling, ATVing. That's the same thing, isn't it? Any motorized vehicle, motorbikes, stuff like that, he was on it, okay? And as far as his faith goes, Eric grew up a Mormon, and he was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And as far as I know, the majority of the members in this church end up going on missions to do missionary work outside of the country. And Eric was no different. He would spend 2 years in Mexico on his missionary trip, and while he was there, Eric learned to speak Spanish fluently. And when he got back, he earned his bachelor's degree in international studies with a minor in Spanish at the University of Utah. Now, he might have gotten that bachelor's degree before he went on his mission. I'm not 100% sure, but those 2 things are still facts indeed. He did go on a 2-year mission and learned to speak Spanish fluently, and he did get a bachelor's degree in international studies with a minor in Spanish. Which order those 2 happened? Not 100% sure, but they happened for sure. And Eric was married in his 20s, but unfortunately that marriage did end up in divorce. Now, like I said before, Eric was a very hard worker, and after he came back from his missionary trip, like I said, he was a hard worker, but he wasn't really trying to work for nobody else. So him and one of his good friends, Cody, started a company called C&E Stone Masonry. And this company proved to be very successful for Eric and Cody. And through the work that they did, like, they would have to go to places like Home Depot, Lowe's, and stuff like that. I think they had a contract through Home Depot. I'm not 100% sure. But I do know that Eric had to visit Home Depot quite a bit because of his business. And he got pretty acquainted with the people who work there, because obviously he's coming there a lot because his business is successful, and so he has to keep coming to get more stuff because he's doing more work, right? And so he would generally go to this one cashier. She was an older lady, but even though he was at her register, he was peeping over at the young lady at the next register. And this was a young lady named Kouri Darden. And Kouri was a beautiful young lady, and she definitely caught Eric's eye. And the cashier who was ringing him out would notice that Eric was always looking at her. And she also knew that Kouri was kind of peeping him too. And so she suggested that the two of them try it out. Just give it a shot. And so they started dating and pretty much just never stopped, because the two of them would end up getting married. And throughout the course of their marriage, they would have 3 beautiful boys named Carter, Ashton, and Weston. Now, from the outside looking in, it would appear that they had like the perfect little family. Kouri had left Home Depot and became a successful real estate agent, and Eric's business was thriving and surviving. And so by all accounts, they were living the life. And even though Eric bust his ass for his company, he never let that interfere with his family life. His family was always his main priority. And he made sure that him and his wife always made time for each other. And so once again, everything seemed like it was all good. But that wasn't necessarily the case, because on one of the trips that the couple took to Greece, I don't know what year it was. It was a couple years ago. I think maybe 2020. I'm not 100% sure about the date or the year, but it was a couple years ago. And while they was there, Eric got really sick after he drank a drink that Kouri had made for him. And I don't know what was going on in their relationship prior to this trip to Greece, but whatever it was enough to make Eric call his sister after he got sick from this drink and tell her that he thinks Kouri is trying to poison him. And like I said, I don't know what was happening in their relationship prior to this, but something had to have been going on for him to just automatically like go to, my wife is trying to poison me, right? So the two of them returned home from their trip, but instead of packing his bags and heading on out, Eric decided that he was going to stay in the relationship. And despite staying, in 2021, Eric ended up changing his power of attorney and his will and putting everything in his sister's name. All of his business assets, all of his personal assets, like trust for his children, everything he put in his sister Katie's name. And he did all of this unbeknownst to Kouri. And I don't know how much time passed between them going to Greece and him changing all of this stuff into Katie's name, but he felt confident enough that Kouri was trying to do something to him that he didn't want her name on anything. And he even told his sister that he felt like Kouri was going to try to kill him for the money, and that he wanted his kids to be financially straight, and that's why he was putting everything in her name, because he knew that she would do the right thing if something were to happen to him. And at this point, I think that Eric might have been thinking about divorce, but he was so hesitant because of his kids. He did not want to have his kids grow up without him. Like, obviously he would still try to be in his kids' lives, but he didn't want to put them through a divorce. And so despite his better judgment, he didn't go through with a divorce. So now moving forward to 2022, a $2 million mansion will become a point of contention between Eric and Kouri, because Kouri, like I said, was a realtor, and she wanted to purchase this $2 million mansion, and she wanted to flip it. And he was like, nah. He didn't think it would be worth it. And right now that might sound like a random tidbit of information, but just keep that in the back of your mind, because it's going to come up a little bit later. And so it's still pretty early in the year 2022, and Eric gets a notification from his insurance company that his policy has been changed. And when Eric logged into this policy to see what changes had been made, he saw that Kouri had made herself the sole beneficiary of this policy. Now, I don't know who was the other beneficiary. If I'm not mistaken, it was his business partner, Cody, I think. I'm not 100% sure on that part. But I do know that it was more than one person as a beneficiary on this life insurance policy. And Kouri had made herself the sole beneficiary. And he was like, oh, no, 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 ma'am. He went back in and changed it and made his sister Katie the sole beneficiary of this $3.6 million policy. And once again, Kouri was none the wiser that she was now no longer power of attorney. She wasn't in the will, and she wasn't getting $3.6 million off his life insurance. She ain't know none of that. So it's February 2022, and Valentine's Day rolls around. And naturally, you're going to have a Valentine's Day dinner with your husband. Hello, duh. I mean, not everybody do that, but you know, that's the typical thing. And so Kouri and Eric have this nice Valentine's Day dinner, and Kouri makes Eric a sandwich. But immediately after taking a bite out of this sandwich, or eating the whole sandwich, I don't know if it was like one bite whole sandwich, I don't know, Eric started to have some type of reaction. He broke out into hives real bad. Like, he just started feeling terrible. And it was so bad that he had to use one of his kids' EpiPen and take some Benadryl to, like, I guess, calm his body down, if you will. And immediately after that, he fell asleep for hours. Now, luckily, he did end up surviving whatever that was. But now he was more sure than ever that Kouri was trying to do something to him, because he told one of his friends that if something were to happen to him, Kouri did it. So a couple of weeks go by, and it's now March 4th, 2022, and it's around 3:22 a.m. and Kouri is calling the police now because she has found Eric in their bedroom, cold and unresponsive. And first responders get there as soon as possible, and once they get there, they find Eric on the floor at the foot of his bed, and he is just as Kouri described him. So they attempt CPR. Unfortunately, it's too late, and Eric is pronounced dead at the scene. And so now police naturally want to know what happened. Like, how did this seemingly healthy 39-year-old man pass away like this? So Kouri tells the police that at around 9:00 p.m. on the 3rd, that she made Eric a Moscow Mule to celebrate the closing of a house. Because like I said, she was a realtor. So she and Kouri were going to celebrate her closing on a house. So she makes him a Moscow Mule. He drinks it, and then they go to bed. But at some point in the middle of the night, one of her children wakes up having a nightmare. And so she goes into this child's room and ends up falling asleep with them. And then at around 3:00 in the morning, she woke up and went back to her and Eric's room, where she found him cold and unresponsive, and called the police. And she also said that while she was asleep in the kids' room, her phone was in her and Eric's room on the charger. So because they have to find a cause of death for Eric, an autopsy is done, and what they find is that the cause of death turned out to be a fentanyl overdose, and it was 5 times the lethal dosage. And this was not medical grade fentanyl. This is not the stuff that you get from a hospital. This was illicit, the stuff that you get on the streets. And it was also determined that he had ingested it orally. Now, after Eric's death, and I mean like immediately after, this is the day after Eric's death, Kouri threw a party. And it said that this party was to celebrate the closing of that $2 million home. Remember the $2 million home that I told y'all Eric did not want her to buy? Yeah, that house. So apparently Katie, Eric's sister, was at this party, and her and Kouri ended up getting into it. Like, getting into it so bad that the police had to be called. And it's believed that they had got into it this bad because Kouri found out that she was not the beneficiary on nothing. It's believed that this is where she found out that she wasn't about to touch that 3.6 mil. And she got mad. Now, being that Kouri was no longer the benefactor to none of Eric's estate, she decided to sue. So she ended up suing Eric and Katie for his estate. She felt like she was the one who was hoodwinked and swindled. In the meantime, throughout the court battles and the going back and forth for Eric's estate, his children are trying to process the death of their father. And so, allegedly, in an effort to help them through this process, Kouri decides to write a children's book about grief. And a year after Eric's death, Are You With Me was published. And on April 6, 2023, she went on Good Things Utah to promote this book. And she thought that she was just about to start breaking in the dope from these book sales. But sis had another thing coming because, like I told y'all, on May 8th, 2023, so like last week, she was arrested and charged with Eric's murder and 3 counts of possession of a controlled substance with intent to sell. So while she was out here trying to capitalize on her husband's death, the police was investigating her ass. So because of the fentanyl that was discovered in Eric's system, the police was able to secure a search warrant for the couple's home, and then later on a search warrant for Kouri's phone. So once they executed the warrant on Kouri's phone, they found that the phone was not stationary like Kouri had initially told them. Because remember, I told you that she said that the phone was on the charger while she was in the room asleep with her kids, but that turned out to be not true. The court document says that her phone was locked and unlocked multiple times during the period in which she was supposed to be sleeping, and that it was moving about the house, and that text messages were sent and deleted throughout that time. So, girl, why you lying? They also discovered text communication between Kouri and a person only identified as CL, and they was able to get in contact with CL. And this person, CL, said that Kouri had contacted them between December 2021 and February of 2022. And the first time that Kouri contacted them, it said that she asked for some prescription medication for an investor who was having some back pains. And so the CL person got her some hydrocodone, but apparently that wasn't strong enough. And she said that this person, this investor who was having the back pain, wanted something stronger. And she requested some of that Michael Jackson stuff and specifically asked for fentanyl, which, let's just be clear, Michael Jackson did not die from a fentanyl overdose. But that's what she asked for. And so on February 11th, 2022, she paid $900 to this CL person for about 15 to 30 fentanyl pills. And if y'all are losing track of the timeline, February 11th is 3 days before Eric ate the sandwich on Valentine's Day and broke out into hives and had to use the EpiPen and the Benadryl. So then Kouri contacted CL again, asking for more fentanyl, and then paid another $900 for 15 to 30 more fentanyl pills on February 26th of 2022, which was just a week, I think 6 days before she gave Eric the Moscow Mule, and then he ended up passing away. And so now, like I said, Kouri has been charged with his murder, but she has not been convicted. And so it is only believed that she poisoned him. It's all alleged at this point. And yeah, as of right now, she's being held without bond, and her next hearing and her next court appearance is on the 19th of May. And so yeah, we'll see how this turns out. I'm like kind of blown away by the amount of facts that we have right now. So I can only imagine if she pleads not guilty and goes to trial, how much more is gonna come out. Because you know they don't never show their full hand before the trial, right? So like, this is already a lot. You know, it's all alleged, but it's a lot. I don't know, y'all. I feel so bad for the kids because, first of all, they had to deal with the fact that their dad passed away, right? Unexpectedly for them at that. And then their mom helps them to write this book and tries to, you know, help them through the grieving process. But now they have to grieve all over again because right now they're not with their mother either. And if she go to jail, they're not going to be with her for a long time, depending on how much time she get, you know? So those poor boys, those poor babies. Like, I will never understand. Again, I said it in another video, like maybe 2 or 3 videos ago. I will never understand taking your child's other parent away from them, because essentially you're going to end up taking them both away. Like, it's wild. It's wild. I mean, allegedly she took Eric away. We don't know for real yet, but I'm just saying. And if y'all looking for the book, it ain't available. Amazon done stripped it from its shelves, and I don't think it's being sold nowhere else. So, but yeah, y'all, that's all I have for today's video. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Do y'all think that Kouri did it? Do y'all think she gonna plead guilty or not guilty? Do y'all think she gonna go to trial? What y'all think gonna happen? What y'all think? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Allegedly. You should have recorded inside the house, huh? It looked like it's gonna rain on you. I think the bird's talking to me, y'all. Oh no. Yeah, see? Oh, you live here. That was a hornet. Oh, that scared me. Too close for comfort.